Hello, welcome to Carissa Explains It All. I am Carissa, I explain it all. And this is my Diary of an Alchemist series, where I am detailing the last 7 years of emotional healing, inner child work, shadow work, and reparenting journey. Now this is chapter 12 in my series, where I am talking about in 2019, attending Conscious Life Expo, which is this massive exhibits, convention thing where it takes place in Los Angeles every year. And this one was taking place at the Hilton Hotel at LAX. So it's this massive hotel, and the event itself takes place on several stories. There's exhibit halls, there's panels, there's workshops where you can listen to speakers and do like interactive workshops or do like guided meditations. The exhibit hall has like tons of different like vendors selling their wares and selling their modalities of healing and all this stuff. There's just so much to see. So I looked it up. In 2019, there were like 200 vendors and like over 100 speakers. So that's a lot, and there's a lot going on. I think it was a 4-day event. I went for 1 day. So at the time, I was very, very new to spirituality. Most of the stuff that was going to be at Conscious Life Expo, I was not familiar with. I was just getting into sort of like tarot cards, sort of listening to, well, not sort of, a lot listening to Teal Swan in her videos, because in her videos she was describing reality on an energetic level, so the way that we feel things and the way that we relate to other people and what is the energy underlying it. And I was really getting into understanding kind of the hermetic principle of as above so below, as within so without, and this law of mirroring, kind of like the law of attraction but the law of mirroring. So everything that is within me is being reflected in my external reality, and just playing with that idea. So I saw this ad for Conscious Life Expo and I was like, oh, amazing, like that looks really cool, something I might be interested in. And then I saw that Teal Swan was a speaker and I was like, ugh, how synchronous. Like, I've just been watching her stuff. Amazing. I want to go. So I told 2 of my coworkers about it, and because they were very close friends of mine. And so we all wanted to go. We worked in customer service in retail. So anyone that's worked in retail, you know, you can't really get time off without having someone else cover you. Like, you can't just have 2 days off like at the same time with a coworker. It just doesn't really happen like that. So it just so happened that this was going to take place on a Sunday, and we had shorter hours. So all 3 of us could be not there because we had someone else that was going to work the store that day. So we were going to, all 3 of us, work on Saturday, fly out Saturday night, stay in a hotel, go to Conscious Life Expo on Sunday, and fly out Monday morning just before work started, where we all had to be at the store to open the store. So, you know, it was very tight time schedule, but at that time it just kind of worked, and we were just really excited about it. So because it was kind of like we were on the go, you know, I had worked all day, we flew out there, we didn't go to sleep till like 2 a.m, and then we got up early so we could go to breakfast and then go to Conscious Life, go to the expo. Because of this, I was really tired, and I think that being tired actually kind of worked in my favor, because normally I would probably try to mask more or suppress my emotions more, or try to control everything, like plan out our route of like, we're gonna see this speaker and then this one and then go see this or do that or whatever. And because I was just so tired, I just kind of went with the flow, which was perfect and what I kind of needed for that day. So the only thing that I was like, absolutely have to do is go see Teal Swan, of course. Like, she was like the only one that I knew that was there. But the first thing that we did, like her event was like later in the evening. So the first thing that we did, there was like a lucid dreaming seminar. So we thought that would be cool. We went to that. And that was like an hour like guided meditation. So it was like a room full of people. There's a speaker, and they led us through like a guided meditation, hypnosis kind of thing. And we're supposed to be able to like fly in our dreams after, you know, astral travel, something like that. It was a really cool meditation. Still never learned how to fly in my dreams and stuff after that, but you know, it was cool. It was a cool experience. After that, we still had time before Teal Swan's workshop, so we went to walk around the exhibit hall, and there were so many vendors. And at first, like, I was so excited. There was so much like childlike wonder and excitement for this, and I was like, I think I was just expecting that everyone would be on that really excited level of spirituality like I was. I was like just beginning it, and I just was so excited to learn everything, and I just assumed that everyone else would be infused with this energy of the spirit, you know. I don't know, just like excited and like wanting to like connect and stuff. And it just, the vendors, it really didn't feel like that. And I get it, because like if you're a vendor, you probably go to a lot of these exhibits, right? And so it's not anything new, and you get people who are like all kinds of interests and sometimes not interested. So I just felt like a little bit disconnected. I felt like, why isn't everyone on board and like so excited and like this stuff is so cool? So it was a little bit of a letdown to just kind of realize like, oh, maybe some people are just here to sell things. And there's nothing wrong with selling things, even if you are in the spiritual field. But I just felt like there would be more authenticity behind it. And it was clear that some people were just trying to capitalize. And some people are trying to capitalize and were authentic. But there was there was a little bit too much of the not authentic that just it irked me. So anyway, so then my coworkers, friends, I call them coworkers because that's like how I know them first and like for foremost relate to them, but they were my friends, you know? And they went to another seminar to like listen in, and I wasn't feeling it. I like the topic didn't interest me. And I was feeling a little bit unsettled because it was very overstimulating in there. It's a big event, a lot of people and a lot of things going around and a lot of energy. So I was kind of wandering around and I saw like these double doors off to the side. Like there's like a lot of stuff going on, a lot of different rooms that people are going into, but there was this like set of double doors further back that no one was really around. The door was cracked open and there was a piece of paper on the door that said what it was. I don't remember what it said anymore, but probably something like meditation room or music room or something. But it was all dark in there. And so like I kind of like walked by, I could hear music coming out of there. I kind of like peeked in and it didn't look like there was a speaker or anything. So I kind of went in and it turns out like the whole room was dark and there was like some people like musicians like playing instrument like flute and drums and like very softly, and the lights were all out except for like a few little dim lamps here and there, and there were cushions on the floor and people were just kind of like sitting everywhere, like middle of the room, scattered on the outside of the room. And so I decided to go in and like kind of like tucked myself into like a back corner where no one else was, and I just felt so much relief because I think I was just way overstimulated and tired. And just a lot was going around or a lot was going on. And then I just felt kind of disappointed from all the vendors like selling things and I wanted to feel like excitement for the spiritualness of it all. You know, I wanted to feel excited about growing, and I just felt like I wasn't feeling that here, you know? So sitting in that corner, it was really kind of a perfect time for me to just kind of settle with my thoughts and what I was feeling without any distraction. Because I'd also been around my coworkers' friends since the morning before. You know, like we went to work, we flew, we stayed in the same hotel room, we all went to breakfast, we all went to the expo. Like I've just been around other people the whole time, not really space to myself. And I didn't realize how much I needed that, and how much some of the unease that I was feeling was actually a lot of those repressed emotions that I had been feeling. 2 episodes ago, I go over, you know, how I use the emotion code to come up with and relate to become aware of some repressed emotions. And then in the last episode, chapter 11, I was talking about the overlays. So becoming aware of those repressed emotions and how I was using my external events to kind of play them out and try to find resolve, but I wasn't finding resolve. And so now here at Conscious Life Expo, you know, like a week after I'd been playing with the emotion code, I was now like those repressed emotions kind of, you know, like if you step into a river and like the silt and the dirt at the bottom of the river kind of gets shaken up and the water gets kind of muddy. I feel like that's what was happening to me at the time when I was at Conscious Life Expo. Like all these repressed emotions were now being unearthed, and they were kind of like just beneath the surface, like threatening to bubble over. And what I needed was a good cry and a good release and a good session of acknowledgement and validation of these different aspects and emotions that were coming up for me that I was like kind of aware of, but not quite. I didn't see them fully. And I would in the next chapter that I'll be going over, chapter 13, that will be the round table trance meditation. I'll be going over actually becoming aware of those. But before I could fully actually do that, I needed this day here at Conscious Life Expo to allow those emotions to start bubbling over to the point where I couldn't ignore them anymore. So after about 30 minutes, 45 minutes of sitting in this dark room, I knew my coworkers' friends were supposed to be like just about done with their seminar, so I left the room and I found them, and it was about time to go to Teal Swan's workshop anyways, so we headed over there. And I remember like being in the lobby of that area and just seeing like the long line for her event, and I was like, oh, we should have gotten here earlier, I should have planned this more, because now we're gonna have to sit way far back, and you know, I want to be able to see her, like be in her presence. Like I've been watching her on YouTube, and like I would love to just like see her, you know, like up close and in person, you know? And so, and it was so funny because like, as I'm like looking at this line, there's this like really tall guy with like, I remember he had glasses and he had a suit on, like a black and white, you know, suit, like black suit with like white t-shirt, black tie. And he like walks by me and I'm just like, wow, that dude's tall. And I'm like still looking at the line. I'm like, man, I wish I had gotten here early. And like a couple of people like passed by and my coworker next to me, she goes, "Hi, Teal." And I look over and I realize that was her bodyguard walking right in front, like literally like right in front of us. And she was right behind him. So like I literally got to be right next to her in person, but I was looking over at the line lamenting that I wouldn't get to see her up close and in person. But so anyways, funny anecdote. But anyway, so we got in the line, we went in, we were probably, I don't know, 10, 12 rows back from the front stage. And we watched her and it was just so helpful. I took notes the whole time. And I think the workshop was about shame, releasing shame, and becoming aware of the parts of yourself that you are ashamed of, that we don't really realize because we've suppressed the fact that we're ashamed of parts of us because it's too painful to be aware of that. And so she just talked about something that was really helpful, which was like that once we become aware of these repressed aspects of us, we can't just immediately love them. We can't just invoke this feeling of like warm fuzzy, like, "Oh, I'm so sorry I repressed you. Like, let me love you now." Like, there's a reason why we repressed it in the first place. There's a reason why we're ashamed of it. There's a reason why we pushed it away from us. And it's because we can't relate to it. Like we, a long time ago, stopped relating to that aspect because the people around us did not relate to that aspect and said it's not okay to relate to that aspect. But that part of us must be like not so great or not wanted or whatever. And so we then stopped relating to it, which then pushed it out of our conscious mind and into the subconscious and where it's remained repressed. So she said, don't try to love it right away. You can't, that's just not possible. You know, just like if you met a stranger, you're not going to love them right away. Like you got to know them first, right? And to know them, you have to start to relate to them. And how do you relate to them? You get curious about them. You ask questions. You start to get to know them. You start to like understand what they're about and their energy and their hopes and dreams and fears and like all these things, right? Like you create intimacy. And she breaks it down, intimacy into me see. So you are looking into this aspect and you don't have to love it right away. You just start to get to know it. And as time goes by, as you get to know it more, you'll relate to it more. As you feel like you're more related, you connect to it more. And through that connection, there's a desire to start loving, to start being loving towards this aspect because you care about it, because you understand it. Even if it's different from you, you understand it and still appreciate it in its own right. Once we do that, we have now created the friendship, the bond, the start of the integration process. And as we continue to live with it and take its needs, that repressed aspect, that its needs as our own, we then integrate it until it is completely us and there really isn't any separation anymore. So she was going over that process and it was kind of those like, it was like, you know, when that saying, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Even though I'd been listening to her, that very process that she was walking us through at that time, that was what I was going to be going through the very next day with these repressed aspects. And so it was really good to just have this at the forefront of my mind and to be walked through it at that time. And I remember as she was saying that, I was imagining this inner child aspect of me that was, I had this imagery of her, this child self version of me, just kind of like shriveled up and naked and afraid and by herself and so scared. And yet the part of me that's just doesn't feel warm and fuzzy towards her was saying horrible things, you know, like you're not good enough, or feeling things makes you weak, or it'll make you vulnerable. And putting yourself out there and making yourself vulnerable will make you look stupid. And if you're stupid, then you're not smart. And if you're not smart, you won't be connected to and you won't be loved. And just like this whole chain of like reasons why I withheld love from this repressed child version of myself, these repressed aspects came unraveling as she was talking through this. And so it gave me this imagery that I would then start with in the roundtable trance meditation the next day. And it kind of like morphs into something really incredible. So we'll get into that later, but I just want to say, you know, that workshop really helped me to give me the process that I needed at that time, and to give me the imagery that I needed to start working with my subconscious with those repressed aspects. So to finish up the day at Conscious Life Expo, after Teal's workshop, we went back down to the exhibit hall floor and I felt really dehydrated. So they were selling literally like these like flavored water, I don't know, electrolyte drinks called Hydrate. And I tried it and it was absolutely disgusting. And so it just kind of like reinforced this feeling of like, all these vendors are frauds. They're not into spirituality. Like it just this anger of like, why isn't anyone feeling like as authentically spiritually engaged as I am? And I'm sure there were tons of people there that were. I was feeling disconnected from it. And so I just wanted to feel connection. And I realized kind of in that meditation room and through doing, being walked through the process of integration by Teal and seeing that inner child version of myself, I just kind of realized like, I really just want to be seen and loved and supported for who I am without me needing to be anything, without me needing to be smart or have the answers or be right. I just want to exist and be loved anyways for that without having to do anything to earn it, you know? And I was just kind of coming, like these thoughts were all just kind of swirling around that day while I walked around Conscious Life Expo. So before we left Conscious Life Expo for the day, there was one more vendor that we had seen on our first initial walkthrough of the exhibit hall and we decided to come back to, and that was the aura photography vendor person. Now, say whatever you want about aura photography, Carillion photography, whatever. This Diary of an Alchemist series is not about me telling the validity of certain systems and belief systems. I'm just retelling like what I used at that time in my life and what helped me like spark new questions or growth or more love or more expansion for myself. So even if aura photography is not a real thing, even if the emotion code that I talked about 2 chapters ago is not a real thing, whatever, and who cares, because what it did was help me open up to what I needed to hear to be able to move forward through my emotional healing and spiritual growth at that time. So I have a picture of the aura picture. So we bought Teal's book and then we took aura pictures. I don't know if you can see me through that because it's kind of hazy anyways and the lights are reflecting, but yeah, there's me and all that aura around me. So whether you want to believe it or not, there was a lady who the photo would print out and then she would kind of give you an interpretation of that photo. What do the colors mean? And the things that she said, it just struck me, like I said, just what I needed to hear at that time, at that moment in time to move me forward. The yellow in my field stood for why, always questioning everything and always. She said the pink was my ability to laugh at myself and find humor in the situation. She said, never lose that capability. As long as I see the humor and the pain, I can pull through anything. I mean, those are things that you could generically say to anybody, right? So whether this vendor is real or not, that's what I needed to hear at that time. Doesn't matter if it was a generic statement. It's just what I needed right then. She said that I have a powerful will and that I came here to change the world. And honestly, I had a very, naive, big, grandiose, vision to, change the world and save everyone and all that stuff at that time. And I have a different perspective on it now. I still want to create change in the world and impact it in the way that I can to the best of my abilities. But it's not as grandiose as that's that childlike version of I'm gonna be a superhero kind of feeling, and at that time I really felt like that. I was like, I came here to change the world, and I still feel like that, but I have a more, I think, tempered and still idealistic but also realistic and just a grounded way of moving forward and doing what I can in the world. So, but at the time I was like, she was like, you have a powerful will and you came here to change the world. And then I couldn't help it. I started to cry when she said that. And she said, why are you crying? It's a beautiful thing. And I said, because I know that, but I don't believe in myself. And she said, it's because I give to those who simply take. And it's time to stop that. It's time to set boundaries. And it's important to have good friends who won't take advantage of you. And as she was saying that, my coworker, who's kind of like a mama bear kind of coworker, she just instinctively just came up right behind me and grabbed me around the waist in a big bear hug, and she was like, I've got you and it's okay, and just, oh, of course it made me start crying even more, right? But it was exactly what I needed. And remember what I was saying, I was like, I just want to feel seen and supported and loved for exactly who I am. And there we go. There it was. I received it right then. And so I think, being tired and just kind of going with the flow that day, I just stumbled upon whatever I needed when I needed it, and it all worked out, you know? So after that, one of my coworkers wanted us to go see a health seminar, and the other coworker and I stayed behind, just kind of like in lounge chairs, just talking, just having a good time, just relating. And then we went back to the hotel, we had dinner, and we had some wine and talked some more. And then we went back to the hotel room to go to sleep, or so I thought. And I checked my email just to double check the flight times and saw that our flights got canceled. So our flights out of town the next morning were canceled. The flights where we needed to be back because we were going to land 30 minutes before our shifts to open the store. And if you don't open the store on time, it can be a fireable offense because like there's a big old contract with the big store and like blah, 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 whatever legality stuff. So I went into full blown panic mode. It was hours of stress, and one thing after another just kept happening. Yeah, but we're not going to get into that in this chapter because I don't want it to go too long. So that's the next chapter, is how the store ended up opening. I ended up having exactly what I needed, which was to not be at work the next day, and instead had a crazy spiritual like epiphany thing. It wasn't an awakening, but it was a healing moment and a big stepping stone on the path towards integrating different aspects of myself, repressed aspects and personalities and emotions and all that good stuff. And that is the why can't I say that? The round table trance session. And so we'll be going over that in chapter 13. Ooh, 13. What a cool number for that. But yeah, so that's it. That's Conscious Life Expo. Thank you so much for watching. I finally did this chapter. I feel like it's been looming in the distance forever, and now I finally did it. So now we can move on to the round table trance meditation. I said it right that time. That's chapter 13. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you there. Bye.